In the French Alps, beside the still waters of Lake Geneva, 7 of the world's most powerful leaders will meet in just over 2 weeks. The setting looks peaceful. The stakes are anything but. This year's G7 summit in Évian comes as the global economy absorbs the aftershocks of conflict in the Middle East and grapples with deeper fractures in how nations trade and secure the materials they need most. The group itself began 50 years ago as a small circle of major economies trying to coordinate responses to oil shocks and inflation. Over time, it expanded its reach, first into foreign policy, then into technology and supply chains. Russia was once part of a wider version until 2014. Today, the core members remain Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. They have no formal rules or permanent staff. The host country sets the tone each year. What sets this meeting apart is the pressure building on 2 fronts at once. The first is energy. Disruptions to shipping through a vital Gulf route have kept oil prices volatile and elevated. For Europe especially, that has fed into slower growth and higher inflation readings in recent months. Finance ministers from the group met in Paris in May to discuss how to limit the damage. Their concern is not only immediate costs, but the risk that sustained higher energy prices could weigh on investment and household spending across several economies. The second front is more structural. Global economic imbalances have persisted for years, with large deficits in some places and surpluses in others. At the same time, supply chains for critical minerals have become heavily concentrated. One country now accounts for the great majority of processing for rare earth elements and related materials used in electric vehicles, wind turbines, defense systems, and electronics. G7 trade ministers have been working on ways to reduce that dependence through new projects in allied countries and closer coordination on stockpiles and investment. France holds the presidency this year and has placed reducing those imbalances at the center of its agenda. The aim is to encourage dialogue on underlying causes rather than symptoms alone. On the practical side, ministers have explored stronger cooperation on critical minerals, including possible mechanisms to support alternative supply chains. The leaders will also address the broader geopolitical picture, including the situation in the Middle East and continued support for Ukraine. Several emerging economies have been invited to join parts of the discussion. What actually emerges from Évian will likely be a joint statement rather than binding decisions. Past summits have produced useful coordination on sanctions or climate finance when interests aligned. They have also shown the limits of the format when members disagree on approach. The United States has at times preferred direct negotiations with individual countries. Europe has often favored collective frameworks. Those differences remain visible. Still, the meeting matters because the issues on the table touch daily life in many places. Higher or unstable energy prices eventually appear in transport costs, manufacturing, and household bills. Delays in building diversified mineral supply chains can slow the rollout of lower-cost clean technologies or raise their price in the near term. On the other side, successful coordination could support new investment and jobs in mining and processing outside the current dominant supplier. The deeper question is whether this group of advanced economies can still translate shared concerns into practical steps that make the system more resilient. Fragmentation is not new, but it has accelerated. The alternative to coordinated responses is a world where each country or bloc secures its own supplies at higher cost and with greater uncertainty. In Évian, the leaders will speak about these pressures in formal sessions and private conversations. Whether those conversations produce clearer commitments on energy security and critical materials, or remain largely declarative, will shape how the next phase of economic adjustment unfolds. If you value straightforward explanations of how these global decisions connect to the pressures households and businesses actually feel, subscribe to Macro Decoded.